3 of the 17 steps is a kind of an interesting one. Give others every experience you seek. This is a real key, and it's not mentioned, by the way, in motion pictures like The Secret or books like The Law of Attraction and so forth. Somehow or another, this step has escaped the notice of those movie and book producers. But it is the fastest and easiest way to retain your identity as being one with God, and it's the fastest and easiest way to obtain anything that you wish, whatever you wish to experience in your own lifetime. Cause another to experience it in theirs. I mean, if you wish to experience love, cause another to be loved. If you wish to experience abundance, cause another to be abundant. If you wish to experience success, cause another to be successful. You know, Steve, every successful person on the planet knows this secret. I've heard it over and over again from 1,000 different sources. Every success book talks about this. If you wish to experience power, cause another to be powerful. If you wish to experience wisdom, cause another to be wise, which is what you're doing on your program every time it's broadcast. If you wish to experience romance, cause another to be romanced. If you wish to experience forgiveness, cause another to be forgiven. What I'm saying here is that the power of personal creation, the ability to become happier than God, begins best with another. This is interesting. This is an interesting shift of focus. Most people are trying to draw things to themselves. What I'm saying here is focus first on the other, always the other, never first on the self, and that which the self wishes to experience will be realized sevenfold. Whatever you wish to create for yourself, create for another. This is the energy of attraction at its most powerful. Now, here's why this works. What you bring to another, you bring to the self, because there is no other in ultimate reality. There's only the self. But what's interesting is that by focusing your energy on bringing what you want in the lives of another, you increase or multiply the energy that you bring through times the number of people for whom you intend to produce that outcome. So if you want to have happiness in your life, cause 10 other people to be happy before the end of this day. A lot of ways to do that, by the way. And if you do that, you'll bring through the energy of happiness, and it'll be multiplied times 10. This is what I call the multiplier effect. The multiplier effect is described in the book in detail, and it is not often talked about. In fact, it's never talked about anywhere in the movie of The Secret or in any of the other books. For some reason or another, nobody quite gets this. However, this is the missing element. That's why every major religion, Steve, on the face of the earth has its own version of the wisdom from Christianity. Do unto others as you would what? Have it done unto you.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I think that, you know, a lot of again, because it's action. A lot of these movies and books that come out are kind of, they're designed to, make $1 million in an hour. It's more simplicity, and when you people tend to think that doing something for others is going to take more time, and why should I do something for someone else when I could do it for myself? But you're absolutely right. When you know your position and you see yourself one, there is no such thing as doing something for others. We're all one.
That is a profoundly important realization. But as I said before, even if we imagine that we weren't all one, for the person who doesn't necessarily really get that, it's okay. You don't have to believe anything in particular for it to be real. You don't even have to believe in God for God to be real, whether God's real and God's there, whether you believe it or not. So it does not necessarily say, oh, okay, I get it, all oneness, all this oneness stuff, I get it. But maybe you don't really quite buy it as an actual reality in your life. You don't have. The good news is you don't have to. You can use the multiplier effect. Think of yourself as separate if you want. Just bring all the good things you want in your life to everyone whose life you touch, and watch within 90 days how your whole life will start to turn around. Every successful person has understood this, from Dale Carnegie, who wrote the wonderful book How to Succeed Without Really Trying, and all the rest of the folks in the business of personal development and personal improvement. All talk about this extraordinary device, but very few people actually use it consciously. The more you cause another person to experience what you want to experience, the more you multiply the effect of your own request to the universe.
You're absolutely right. We're going to go to commercial, but I want to hit the websites again. For those of you listening, we're speaking with Neale DOnald Walsch, internationally best-selling author of Conversations with God. My own personal opinion, I strongly suggest you buy at least Conversation with God, Book 1. Check out that book. It's fantastic. Also, Neale's talking about his new book, Happier Than God, Turn Ordinary Life into Extraordinary Experiences. And if it's a blockbuster night at your house this weekend or any time this week, get the movie Conversations with God. I haven't mentioned it yet, but one of my favorite movies. It is a great adaptation from, of actually how Neale came about writing the book. It's a really good movie, and so check that out. Again, Conversations with God, Book 1, Conversations with God, the movie, and his new book, Happier Than God, Turn Ordinary Life into Extraordinary Experiences. Neale DOnald Walsch's website is ndwhome.com. You could also check out cwg.org. You're listening to Empowered Living, Life, the Truth, and Being Free. I'm your host, Steve Maraboli. We'll be right back.
Program. Here's Steve.
Welcome back. You're listening to Empowered Living, Life, the Truth, and Being Free. I'm your host, Steve Maraboli. We're speaking with Neale DOnald Walsch, internationally best-selling author of Conversations with God and modern-day spiritual messenger whose words continue to touch the world in profound ways. His stuff has been translated into 37 languages. It's all over the globe, and he's here with us today. He's talking about his new book, Happier Than God, Turn Ordinary Life into Extraordinary Experiences. Neale, we were talking about that. We're trying to get to some of the 17 steps of being happier than God. Our feedback is fantastic, so please continue, sir.
Well, step number 5 is decide that this is a big one, by the way, for a lot of people. Decide that you are not your story. In order to experience what is happening in a way that preserves your happiness, you will most likely have to drop your story. Now, when I say your story, Steve, I'm talking about all the data that we've all collected about what has happened to us in our lives, and the reality that we have manufactured about the kind of person we think we are and how we got to be that way. For instance, just as an example, I was dunked underwater when I was a child of about 8. I didn't know how to swim yet, so I was floating and playing around in an inner tube when some big bullies just decided to give me a start by tipping me over in water that was way above my head. A lot of us have had those kinds of childhood, little minor traumas in our childhood. These kids didn't know I couldn't swim, but I knew it. And I never forgot the ice-cold fear that quickly turned to heart-thumping panic as I flailed about trying to get air into my lungs. Now, here's the point, Steve. For many years, well into my adulthood, I didn't go near the water, at least no further than where my feet could touch bottom. All of us, as I said, have stories like this, and all of us have a million of them. Our stories are made up of incidents, large and small, spread out across a lifetime. We become the sum total of these encounters. That's the point. Most people allow themselves to become the sum total of those encounters, unless they don't. At some point, we may let go of a previous idea that we held about ourselves because we realize we have to if we wish to get on with life. Happiness, here's the point, will never be found in your story, only in your newest and grandest decision about yourself and others. And this may mean, Steve, having to tell yourself with regard to a lot of things that have occurred, that was then, and this is now. None of those things have any bearing on what is occurring at this moment. And
that's funny that you say this, because I was just talking about this in the hour before the show. I did a show called The Art of Empowered Living, and it's actually exactly what I was talking about allowing yourself to renew, to update, and to it's very rare that you go onto your computer and open a program that it eventually says, you can't go any further unless you upgrade to the new refined, improved version of this program. And a lot of people, sir, the reason they get stuck in their rut, the reason they can't go any further, is because they haven't allowed themselves to download and accept that new, refined, improved version of themselves. That's right.
What I'm saying here is that life is inviting you to create yourself and the moment you are experiencing in any given where, in the way that you wish to experience yourself, rather than the way that you used to experience yourself. You're invited by life to give up your previous identity, let go of your prior idea about yourself, and pretend that life has started all over for you right now. So what you're saying, Steve, is absolutely fundamentally true, and it's an astonishingly powerful tool in people's lives.